pop up there that you'll need to click on saying that's okay to record the meeting. And Nick, it's all yours.
All right, cool. So I'm Nick, if I haven't met you already. I am the volunteer BAT program coordinator. So I'll be the person that can answer all your questions. And if I don't know the answers to them, I know the people that know the answers, or hopefully know them. And if they don't, they know people. So we'll always get your question answered. It just might take a day or two, especially since things are so new. So today we're going to cover two main things. One is how to navigate through the different maps that we have and how to find culverts. And the other one is how to actually submit data after we have surveyed those culverts. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I need to, it doesn't show me what it is, but I think this is it. Hopefully. Okay. Oh, hang on, I got to open my system preferences. 1 second. Okay. I'm gonna have to quit out of Zoom real quick and I'll be right back. It's saying I have to quit for you to be able to record, so give me a second. Sorry.
We can talk about him while he's gone.
That's right.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay.
George.
Just dealing with those good old technology issues. And let's share my screen. Okay, yeah, this looks much better. Let's see, here we go. Share. All right. So can everyone see the BAT page?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So for those of you that haven't seen our website yet, which hopefully you have, and if not, our website is washingtontu.org/bat/. And this is where you can find basically all the information you'll need on our program. And if you scroll down, we have our training slides, and this tab bar is the most important thing for us in regards to when we go out into the field. Specifically the barrier map tab, the reserve kits tab, which we're still kind of working on everything there, and the assessment forms tab. So we're going to start with the barrier map tab. And that's going to be how you can access the Washington TU BAT map. It's basically the exact same as the WDFW's BAT map, or yeah, same as their map. It just has a couple different features. You can use either one when you're looking for culvert. It really just depends what you more. I tend to use the Fish and Wildlife one more, just because I can get to it a little bit faster. And it has a search query that I like a little bit more, but you can use either. So when you hit that barrier map tab, there's two options. Let's see, 1 second. So you can launch map full screen, which will take you to a completely separate page, and it has the map full screen. Or you can kind of scroll down, hit this OK button on this little note that popped up, and then you'll see our BAT map here. I had them give us that full screen option because I had issues scrolling around because the map's just a really small size on here. So for our purposes, we're going to hit launch map full screen. It's going to pull this up. And can everyone still see this, the full screen map?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So it's going to take a second to load. Get out of this. It should. It's thinking. So this is our map. And in a second, there should be a bunch of culverts that pop up. I don't know why it's not popping up right now. I literally looked at this 10 minutes ago and it worked fine, so that's weird. Let's try it again. Interesting. Doesn't look like our bat map wants to cooperate today. If it doesn't work, we got a backup. It's okay. Sometimes some of the issues you might have is I have had it where it takes a while for the sites to actually load on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this screen open and hopefully those sites will pop up in a little bit. But we'll go over the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife's bat map first. So what I do is I go to Google and I just type in WDFW Fish Passage. And it's usually the second one down, and it's Fish Passage Web App - Washington. And I can send out the link to that after this. That way you guys have it. You click it. It's basically going to pop up the exact same thing. And hopefully the sites load on this one. If not, I don't know what else to do.
Are these two maps linked to each other?
They are. So when Fish and Wildlife updates their map, ours will get updated. Our map has a filter on it where it's only filtering certain things. And I believe, I don't exactly know what that is. Brad or Steve, do you know what you guys had Josh filter out?
I do not.
I don't.
Okay. I know there's a couple things that are probably filtered out. I personally like seeing everything on the map that's there, that could be there. So that's why I normally use the Fish and Wildlife map. But no matter what, you're going to be seeing culverts that we want you to survey on either map. Just more specific ones on our TU bat map. I'm trying to figure out why it's not showing our culverts here, because I was looking at this just before the meeting started, and I have a feeling it might be because of Zoom.
Although I'm looking at it on a separate screen.
There we go.
I'm not seeing it either. Oh, there you go.
I think it's just, it might be really slow right now. Okay, so this is the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife map here. I think we're still gonna have some issues with it loading, but I can kind of give you the basics about it. And then maybe later we can come back and maybe it'll be loading faster. It's just going really slow. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so on their map, you have all these big blue dots with numbers on them. And that's basically divided down into regions. Usually it's like a sub-basin or a watershed. And you can actually go in and filter by those subregions or watersheds. So say for the one that's by Seattle, it says there's 1,385. That means there's 1,385 sites in that kind of region. If I zoom in, it won't really exactly show what that region is, but it kind of gives you a good idea of where a lot of the survey is done. I mean, it looks like down on the peninsula, there's been a whole bunch, and I know that there's a WDFW crew that's out there right now doing surveys. So for our purposes, the best tool that I found is going to be this little magnifying glass thing right here. It's called the query box. When you hit that, it comes up with this list of options here. You can search for county-owned fish passage sites, search for city-owned fish passage sites. What you guys want to do is do the all other searches. So I hit all of the other searches. And this is a great tool if you have a specific area that you want to be working in. So you can search by county, city, owner type. And for a lot of the cases, you're going to want to be searching by multiple different things, multiple filters. So for example, we'll do King County. So I hit the county button and I scroll down and I find King. And then I'm going to skip city. I don't really care about that. But then I go to owner type. And this is important because you're going to find, and some of you probably already have, when you're going through our bat maps, that there are like probably at least 30 to 45% of the culverts are privately owned. And we're not doing privately owned culverts yet. We're working on that. We're working on getting handouts and training material together for our volunteers, and also for information to give to the landowners when we do contact them. So there's a lot of stuff in the works, and we're working with Fish and Wildlife on that. So in the meantime, when we're not doing that, we want to get rid of anything that's extra that could just kind of bog us down when we're trying to find culverts. So I go to the owner type, I hit it, and I choose whatever I know I want to survey. So city, county, federal. I skip private. I do state, tribal. I don't normally do other because it can be a hodgepodge of things, and we want you guys to only survey areas that we actually know are owned by someone that we can survey on. So right now, we're not surveying on private lands. So I hit port, drainage district, drinking district, irrigation district. So I have all those, I have all 9 of those selected. Now, the other important thing that some of you out in the field might have come across is you guys go, I'm gonna wait for the clock to stop chiming. So some of you guys have gone out into the field and you're expecting to see a culvert, and then you show up and there's a bridge there, or some other type of man-made structure that isn't a culvert and not something we're going to survey. So that's where this feature type filter comes in handy. So we're looking for just culverts. There's other things in here. You've got dams, fisheries, non-culvert crossings. So non-culvert crossing, that's going to be your bridges, walking bridges, driving bridges, things like that. And if you actually go into each individual site, there you'll see the feature type listed, and it'll say culvert or non-culvert crossing or dam. So that's kind of a good way to double check before you go into the field. Make sure you're actually doing a culvert. But this should filter most of the non-culverts out. So I'm going to hit culvert because I want to search for culverts. You can search for fish passage barrier status, potential species, RIRAs, and then they have some other filters. But really, the big ones you're looking for are the feature type, owner type, and then just a general vicinity of where you want to be. So county or city. I like county because it kind of shows a wider range. So what you're going to do then is hit apply. And I should say, if you have questions, to speak up. I can't see the chat box, and I can't see if anyone's raising their hand. So if you need me to show you something again, let me know. So I hit that apply button, and it takes a little bit of time to load, maybe like 20, 30 seconds sometimes. And all of the searches that met your query are going to come up with these red circles here. So let's do a test and make sure Nick knows actually what he's talking about. We're going to zoom in. This is along I-90, right next to, we'll do this one by Lolly State Park. So this one looks like it's going underneath I-90, and it has this red circle. That means it met our search query. So if I click on it, we have our site ID here. And when we hit this arrow button here, it takes you to page 2 of 2. And you see we see our site ID, all the information. We see that it's a culvert, not a non-culvert crossing or anything like that. So we know it's something we can survey. Although in this case, since it's on I-90, we wouldn't be surveying that because we don't survey things on major roads like highways. It's just too dangerous for us, and Fish and Wildlife focuses on that. So it's a culvert. It is in King County, so it met that search criteria as well. And the owner type is state. So all of our search criteria that we put in worked. So we can zoom out and I'll show you. It's only popping up things in red that are in King County. You can see that we're only seeing King County sites here. So it makes it a little bit easier to see, and it filters out Snohomish and Pierce and Kittitas. Now, another cool option, if some of you guys are a little less visually inclined and more data inclined, this little three dot thing right here next to all their search queries drop down. So right here, if you pop that down, you can export to CSV file. So that'll put all of this data into a nice Excel document. And basically it puts all of the information that you collect during a survey into a Excel document, which can be very useful for a lot of reasons. And if you if you want to have backup when you're out in the field, assuming you don't have service or something like that, you can take that out into the field and at least you'll have things like GPS coordinates and whatnot. So I just hit the export button and popped open. I'm going to pop open the Excel document so you guys can see it real quick. Give me 1 second. Make sure it actually opened. It's just loading. Okay, can you guys see the Excel document, or are you still seeing the Google Chrome?
You'll see the map.
Okay, 1 second. Let me just share that screen then.
I can see the Excel doc.
Oh, you
Oh.
can?
I can't.
I
I
can't.
can't.
yet.
Oh, wait, never mind. I'm seeing my own.
Oh, 1 second. Here, I'll share it with you. Okay, let me know.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this is basically all of those red circles and dots that we were looking at, just put into Excel format. You can expand these. I guess you can't expand them to get closer latitude, longitude. That's interesting. But we have our site IDs here, or sorry, site IDs are here. Longitude, latitude, stream names, tributary. So if you're looking to do something on a specific tributary or stream or anything like that, this is a good place to look. So like I would be interested in these Green Water River ones or the White River ones because I have a cabin down on Highway 410. Basically all that info that you collect on that level A culvert analysis. Well, not all of it. It looks like it's just the site ID actually, but all the site ID information is going to be there. So it can still be really useful for you if you're kind of more of a data type person versus a visual type person. Any questions on the Excel document before I switch back over?
Well, one thing I'm really interested to see is of all the data that we collect off of those survey forms, is there any of the stuff that we collect that doesn't actually get input into the database?
So basically everything that is collected on the site ID form is going to pop up here. And then everything that's collected on the level A culvert analysis form will be, it at least gets sent to WDFW. We can go in and look at specific site surveys and I'll show you what that info comes up as once it's been submitted. So we'll take a look at that in just a second. But pretty much all of it gets put on the database and all of it gets sent to WDFW. So they can use that when they're looking at culverts that they're going to replace. So did I answer your question kind of, and then we'll get to it in a second?
Yeah, I think when you get to the input form, it'll answer
Cool.
it.
All right, perfect. All right, I'm just going to switch back real quick. All right. Okay, so that is kind of the gist of WDFW's BAT map. I wish there was an easier way to be like, I want a culvert like this. It's not. You have to kind of go in and do the grunt work, and you can do this type of search that I did, and it narrows things down a lot better for you. And then you just have to kind of have a general idea of where you want to go survey. So like say I wanted to survey near Maple Valley tomorrow. I would do my search query. I'd go into the Maple Valley area, which is right here. And I would just start clicking on them. That's a good picture right there. What we're looking for is mainly right now, at least, is culverts that were surveyed before 2012. The ones surveyed from after 2012, we're interested in them. And if that's the only one you can do in a day, you can do it. But WDFW has specifically asked us to do ones surveyed before 2012. And I think that reasoning is they have crews out right now doing surveys, and us going out and helping them with those surveys will help them because that was kind of the last major analysis that they did. So I'm waiting for this to load. It's taking a hot minute. There we go. So like we saw earlier, it's got the 1 of 2 page. So page 1, it's just for this one. And every culvert on here is going to be a little bit different with how it's formatted for some reason. Sometimes they have words, sometimes it's just the pictures. So here we can see we have probably we have the downstream picture here, upstream picture here. If I go to page 2, we have most of the site ID info here. Actually, it is all of the site ID info. And keep scrolling. And here's our pictures. Now, this here's an answer to the question that we had about what gets put on the database. There's a total passage summary report here. If you hit more info, it'll pull up this very fancy WDFW fish passage database form that they do basically. So this is basically our site ID form here. And then if you scroll down, we have info like the field crew, dates, things like that, plunge pool depths, road fill depth. So the stuff that we collect while we're out in the field, right? It talks about whether or not it's a barrier with the passability. And then as we keep going down, that's where we have the pictures and things like that. It kind of summarizes the data we collect in a little just different format, but pretty much all of it's there. The big thing is Fish and Wildlife wants this data available to everyone, so they put it there. There might be some more data embedded with each submission that we send in that they can provide to other agencies that need it for culvert replacements and things like that. But they always have access to that. So it's all your info is always going to be there. It doesn't get lost in translation or anything like that, or they won't need us to send it back to them. They'll always have it. It's just they have different ways of summarizing how the stuff looks. Does that answer your question?
So how did you get to the data? Because I've got one that's just cranking and apparently hasn't loaded yet.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on tonight with the database. It's going slow. So you click on the site you want to survey, and then there's multiple pages on each site. So you hit the arrow going over. It's usually on the last page.
Okay.
And then you scroll down, and it's called the Total Passage Summary Report. And you hit
Okay.
that hyperlink called More Info. That'll pop that up there. Let's see. Does anyone have any more questions about the WDFW map before I switch over to the BAT map?
You're gonna, one of these, you'll show us the input form, right?
Yeah, so there's two forms that we need to do, and all of it's going to be on our BAT website. So all of that will be on there, not on the WDFW actual map. So we'll go over that next. That's actually next on the list.
All right, one quick question on the query. Can you query on the date, the last date that it was looked at, or?
Yeah, you know, when I was talking to you guys about that, I was like, oh, that would actually be kind of a cool thing to have. I haven't been able to find that option yet, but that's something that I can talk to WDFW about. To see.
Well, wasn't that on? I thought you could do that on maybe the TU BAT form.
We'll take a peek. But if it doesn't look like WDFW has that, that would be something that's easy for them to add if we ask them to. So we can work on doing that, and I'll write that down and we can talk to them about it. Date filter. Yeah, because that would obviously filter your numbers down a lot more and give you a lot less culverts that you'd have to kind of sort through and find something that's good. Okay, so let's see if the BAT map. It doesn't look like our BAT map. It looks like our BAT map is going extra slow compared to how the Fish and Wildlife one's going. So let me do this. I'm going to reload the page and we'll try it one more time. And in the meantime, we can work on some other stuff that I have planned. And if for some reason it just doesn't work because it's Zoom, I can always just do a screen recording and we can send that out to everyone of how all that works. Cannot be added. Okay. Oh, this looks better. That wasn't there a second ago. Let's see. All right. There's a warning there. So we're going to give it a second to load. We're going to go back over to our BAT page and kind of talk about what's on there. So once you guys complete a survey, you know, you've gone out in the field, collected all your data, there's two things that we need you to do. We need you to submit your site ID and your level A culvert forms. And then we also need you to mark the survey that you the site that you surveyed as resurveyed. And I think there's been some confusion about where we do that and how that's done. So first we'll talk about the forms, since the BAT map's not loading and I kind of need that to show you the next thing. So when you need to go in and submit your site ID form and your level A culvert forms, instead of the barrier map tab, you're going to assessment forms. And my computer froze. Give it a second. Come on. There we go. Okay. So this is where you can download the forms right here. But we need you to, when you want to submit your forms, you're going to hit the green view and complete forms. So that's where you're going to submit your site ID and your level A culvert form that you do out in the field. So once you hit that, it's going to take you to this WDFW culvert assessment forms page. And you're going to have 5 tabs going across the top. Crew lead information, site description field form, owner information, level A culvert assessment field form, and level B barrier determination. So that's all there, and you got to go through each one at a time. And I'm going to preface this by saying we've had, you know, minimal submissions so far, so there might be certain things that when you put them in, it doesn't work, or there might be something that's not applicable to you, and you can't move on because we haven't kind of enabled that feature. Please let me know, and we'll get that changed. I've gone through and done a couple test ones to work out the kinks, but there still might be more. So we're going to go through and we're going to do a test one. And before I start doing a test one, does anyone have any questions about how to get to this page? Oh, okay, cool. So for the first page, we're doing crew lead name. So I'm going to do Nick, Eulacia, crew lead email. I'm going to put my email, washingtontu.org. And you're just going to do the same thing.
Hey, Nick, can you remind people that whoever is the scribe for the pipe is the crew lead? And that way, if you have to follow up on any of the information, you know who to contact. Yeah.
Great addition. So basically, whoever's taking the information down out in the field, you're going to be the person that's submitting the form, unless you guys decide otherwise. But no matter what, whoever is actually submitting the data on the website, I need your email here. That's the big thing, because if there's an issue with it when it's submitted, I need to contact the person that actually has the paper copies, because I'll need you to double check things on the paper copies. It's really important that you put down the email of the person that has the paper copies and is submitting the data. Okay.
Once you start a form, can you save it and come back and finish it later, or is it all got to be done in one swell swoop?
No, you can save it and come back later, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So then the last thing is crew lead phone number. So I'll just throw my phone number in here. And again, this is a way for me to be able to contact you if there's any issues. It's a lot easier to call and just talk on the phone versus having like 10 emails going back and forth. So I'll show you how to save on the next screen. I just want to kind of show you how the features a little bit more. So we'll hit carry on. So that's moving on to the next page. So this is where we would put a database unique identifier. So that's our site ID. I'm going to put an old site ID that I already just have preloaded in here because I know I've already surveyed it, so I won't submit it to WDFW later. Identifying group, that is going to be us, Trout Unlimited. latitude, longitude. This is everything that's on our site ID form. So as you can see, number 2 is site description field form. So that's that first form we fill out right when we get to the site. So you would just throw in your latitude, throw in your longitude. These are just preloaded in here because I've already typed them into this form before. Road name, it's whatever you guys decide to put on that form. Try and be specific. If it's there's a cross section nearby, or a milepost, that's on the next section. Do whatever you can to make it work. It's important to note that anything with a green dot, that's required information. So like the milepost here, you don't need to put anything there. You don't need to put an NA or 0 or anything like that. But if you need to do any of these guys, you have to put those in. So county, this survey was in King County. WIRA number, that can be found on, let me see if I still, on each culvert. So I'm back on the WDFW map, and you kind of got to scroll through the images here. Sometimes there's like 10 pages for a culvert. That just means it's been surveyed a couple times. And let's see, if you scroll down on this page, it should tell you sometimes it tells you the WIRA number, and if it doesn't, you can email me and I can find it for you. I think there's a map that shows like areas that are the WIRA numbers. Let me see.
I saw one map and it was really, it showed no other sort of, markings in terms of county lines, things like that.
Well, I'll be able to get that information for you if need be. And I'll just say sometimes on these culvert submissions that have already been submitted, it will tell you in the details. So you can look specifically in the details to see if it's already there. And then you don't even need to reach out to me. I'm just pulling up the report form real quick. I'm going to see if it gets input into there. Yeah, it does. So if you guys go into the report that is attached to each survey, you'll see right here we have the WIRA number is 8. So it should always be in that one, to my knowledge.
Is it safe to assume that they're in there accurately?
It is, because WDFW has quality controlled these. Basically what happens is when you submit this data, it actually doesn't go to them, it goes to me. I do quality control on it, and then I send it to them, and then they're going to do quality control on it. So it's going through multiple hands to make sure that it's the right information. So once it's posted on the website, it's legitimate and it's WDFW approved. It's not like when you guys submit, it just gets automatically put onto the website. So someone that hasn't done training but somehow has the access key to this, they can't just go and like upload a site survey or anything like that.
If for example, we go in there and we add it, and the location directions are slightly different, latitude and longitude are slightly different, we just put in what we recorded from the field survey. We don't go back and use what is in the already associated with that particular culvert, do we?
Right. So, I mean, no matter what, those GPS coordinates are so fine tuned. I don't think you'll ever get an exact coordinate match. In regards to what WDFW wants, they haven't told us. They're fine with it being different. That being said, the culverts aren't going to move. If you navigate to the one based off the coordinates that were on the database, chances are it's that same culvert. It's not like they're not going to get up and walk away, right? So you can just use the coordinates that are already in the database, or you can use the ones you use. Personally, when I go do culvert surveys, I upload all of the GPS coordinates for the culverts I'm planning to go to onto my, I have a phone GPS, and I just reuse those same coordinates, and I use those coordinates to navigate to it. And then I don't take the GPS again because I know it's that exact same one. Unless for some reason I'm like, wait, there's not even a culvert here, or this culvert is 100 yards away from where I thought it would be. I need to do further investigation. So
Nick, I would say, like if we're surveying culverts before 2012, let's just round to 10 years ago, right? And then some of these culverts 15, 20 years ago, our GPS is probably a lot more accurate than, what was
Yeah.
available on the market 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So keep that in mind too.
yeah, that's a great point. I didn't even think of that. Technology has changed quite a bit. So if you're doing a really old survey, go ahead and, definitely throw in those new coordinates, especially if you can get more precise ones. If it's only going to like 2 or 3 decimals on the one that's in the database and you got 5 or 6 decimals, throw them in there. All right, so let's see. I need to get rid of this screen so I can see what I'm doing. Here we go. Okay, so we're just gonna throw in, I think this one was 7. So we're gonna throw in name, and then you got your stream name here. If it does not have a designated stream name, you can just put unknown. And then if you know what what it is a tributary to, throw that in there too. Actually, you have to do that because in general, you're on a small stream and you know what larger body of water is down there, what creek. Ways to kind of figure that out is you can look at the previous culvert submissions for that site and see what they put. Usually they'll always have tributary to Buck Creek or a tributary to Skunk Creek or to the middle fork of the Snoqualmie River. In this survey's case, Brad and I were out on like a roadside ditch and we were 100 yards away from the Snoqualmie. So that was what it was a tributary to.
So that's the closest named tributary. I mean, if you're upstream 2 or 3 sort of named streams, it's the closest named stream.
Yep. So you can think of it, the next fork in the road. What's the fork that it comes out?
All right.
Excuse me. Other options you can do to kind of find those is you can look at, honestly, just Google Maps. When you get home, you can kind of zoom in on the GPS coordinates that you were at. And usually most of the streams are named. If not, you can use our GPSs. Most of them are named on our GPS units as well. Excuse me, I think I got some popcorn stuck in my throat. Any questions on that? Okay. So locations, directions. This is the best way to kind of navigate how you get to where you're going. So for example, for this one, Brad and I parked, we parked like half a mile down the road at a trailhead. So we put half mile from this trailhead walking northbound on the Middle Fork Road. So I'll say walk down road from trailhead. Make sure you are specific, like what the trailhead name is. So I think it was from Miners Creek trailhead or something like that. I'm just coming up with this stuff. So just be specific as you can, because 10 years from now, things might have changed slightly, and the crew that's going out to survey, they'll want specific information so that way they can find it easier. It could be completely overgrown. It could be a clear cut. There could be a mudslide. No one really knows. So
excuse me, is that information included in that CSV file, from previous surveys?
That's a great question. I think I still have the CSV file up. Let me take a look real quick for you. No, it looks like on there it just has road name, milepost, and that's about it.
Does it have wires on there?
What's up?
Does it have the wires on there?
It does have the WIRA on there, so that's there for you to see as well. Usually on the report forms. So let's see if this thing's still up. On the report form, it should also have,
Yeah, I think you showed that to us.
yeah, it should also have the directions on how to get to the place. And but that's if the directions were submitted by the survey crew. Sometimes people leave things blank, especially before this whole program kind of got going. They had different criteria for what actually gets submitted to WDFW. So there are going to be blank spots and data that hasn't been filled in. Okay, so the next thing we have is our feature type. So it's going to be a culvert. We'll say fish use potential is yes, no, or unknown, whatever you guys decide when you're out in the field. If we
Again, remind me that that would be for a migratory fish, right? Not necessarily just because it might have shiners or something or small fish in there.
That's a great question. I have to look up the specific definition of it in the manual, which I can do. But in general, it's if there's potential for fish to be there. I haven't heard if it's just specific fish. Maybe Steve or Brad can comment on that. But my understanding was that it's any fish.
Yeah, it's the kind of fish listed there. So yeah, if there's all kinds of little fish right in our streams, and they're not interested in those for this particular survey. So in other words, is it steelhead? Is it salmon? Is it trout? Those are the three that you need to use the criteria for.
There we go. Perfect. Thanks. All right. Okay. So, and then we have our fish use criteria. So basically how you determine whether or not there's going to be fish in there. You can take a look at the BAT manual for info on that, or also some of the recorded trainings that we've done. So I'm just going to put biological for this case. And then if there are species that the other thing I should note for fish use criteria, there's always the unknown. And, if for all of these, if you have any inkling of a doubt, just put unknown, and Fish and Wildlife can deal with it. For species, if it's unknown, you got the unknown option, or if you know specific species, so whether or not that be you actually see that specific species in the stream or creek or whatever you're on, if it's mapped or anything like that, you can choose them here. Most of the time, you're going to put unknown, or if it's been previously noted in the database entries, you can put those ones. So that's something that you can do after the fact when you get home. Site comments, just general specific site comments, keep them concise and pertinent to what WDFW might need if they're going to go back out into the field and resurvey them, or if there's something that you think might be necessary for if they're going to do a culvert replacement. So for this survey specifically, it was a roadside ditch drainage, and with no downstream channel at all. It was basically just like leaf litter and bark. So for Fish and Wildlife wise, they're not going to replace that culvert, just because there's no reason to, because fish aren't using it, even though I marked fish use potential.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah.
The species that are noted there, like in a previous survey, like if the state did it, or if the WDFW did it, they might have checked a whole bunch of these boxes. Should we just check unknown, or should we go back and use the information from the previous survey?
So I would use the information from the previous survey if it's available. It's already been done, and that's one of the options on fish use criteria basis for how if there's fish use potential. When they do the survey to find out if there's fish use potential, they look at those species. So it's all, these three are all connected. So it would be
yeah. So you would like us to copy this information from the previous survey then?
Yeah, unless you see something else out in the field. If you see, a sturgeon running up the stream. I mean, that's not even an option here, but yeah.
Hey, quick question on that. How do you classify cut bows?
I have no clue. Brad, Steve.
I would say it's a trout and just leave it at that.
Mark them both, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, don't.
Sorry.
Right. You know, I mean, some of this is just common sense, right? They can't have enough, you know, check boxes for everything that might be there.
Got
So just check them both or check one. It's no big deal.
And the reality of it is you're probably not going to see fish out there. I haven't seen a fish yet. And if you do, it's going to be really hard for you to ID it. You might be, I mean, I'm not great at ID, but you might be really good at it. But it's still really hard to tell when they're, you know, in a pool with a water drop going on it and it's all murky and stuff. So, but if you can see it, great, and mark it, go for it. Okay, so we have the save and continue later option right here. Say your house caught on fire and you got to start later. Hit save and continue later. There's this link here. You can copy and paste it and save it for later. But even better, just put your email here in here and do send link. It'll send you this link, so it's always in your email. The caveat to this is it expires after 30 days. It's our hope that you're not holding on to a Culvert survey for 30 days. We would love to see those surveys entered within like a week, like max, after you guys do those surveys, because we're trying to show WDFW and these other agencies that we're a valuable resource to them. So we want to show them that we can give them a good product. So the sooner you guys can get these things submitted, the better. But you do have this option to kind of save for later.
Yeah, remember, it doesn't do us any good to survey if we don't submit it, everybody. I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So since I hit this, I have to Washington team. Yeah. So I'm going to send the link and I'll kind of show you guys what it looks like. We'll go here. I'm hoping it's instantaneous. That way I don't have to go through and do, there we go. So here's my email. Goes into it. It comes from watu@imaginarytrout.com. Basically it says, thanks for starting it. And then you can use this link to access it again, and you have 30 days to do so. So I hit the link. It takes me there. Scroll down. Boom, here's all that information that I was entering. So this is a great tool to have, and it saved everything that I had. So next I'm going to go to the carry on option. This is specifically owner information. A lot of times you're not going to have specific owner information. You'll just know whether it's federal, state, county, city, yada, yada. Once we get into the private area more, we'll talk about that and come up with procedures for that. But for now, I'm just going to put, this was actually a county road, so I'm going to put King County. Okay.
So do you need to do those tabs in order?
You do, yeah. You can go back, so you can do go back or carry on, but you have to have completed everything on the page before you can carry on. But you can go back.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna skip over all this info because it's just extra stuff, mailing address, yada yada yada. So there's the only thing that's required that we made it. The only thing that required is the type. If you have this information, go ahead and throw it in. So we're going to carry on. So this is the level A form now. So we just did all the site ID form info. Now we're on to the level A culvert. So you got to throw in that site ID again. Crew name. It's the last names of the field crew, so it'll be me and Brad. Culvert number. So again, 1.1, 1.2, 2.2. There was only one culvert at our location, and then the date that you surveyed it. So I'm just going to mark today. It's got this nice calendar here, so you don't have to type it, and then you can just click whatever day you did. Going through our material, eco-structural steel plate, span. Luckily, these all save, so I don't even have to make something up. And you're literally just throwing in the information that you guys recorded on your level A culvert form. So from here, it's pretty straightforward, which is nice. For water surface drop, if there's no water surface drop, type none. Don't enter a 0, just put none. That way it's easy for Fish and Wildlife to tell that there was none.
Are you in charge of this form?
Yep, I'm not the one that made the form. I'm the one that the info gets submitted to.
Oh, I just didn't know, because I know one thing that I had to just double check on was when up above where it said water depth, it doesn't say whether you're talking upstream or downstream, and I understand it's the downstream. Water depth and culvert.
Yeah.
It would be helpful if they just, put that in there.
Got it. It should, the water depth and culvert, it should be, I believe it's marked on the level A form on the back side on where you take that measurement from. I'd have to go back and double check, but we do have those footnotes on the back of your level A form when you're actually doing the data recording.
It doesn't say downstream or upstream.
Okay, well, we can definitely get that added for you then. Brad, do you want to make a note of that since you're the guru of making that new form? All right, so next one here, we have our drop location. So outlet, inlet, interior, or not applicable if there is no drop. Apron, if there is one or not. So I don't remember if there was one, but I'm just gonna put both. Total length, just remember that when you guys are doing length measurements in the field, our laser rangefinders do it in yards, so make sure you do the conversion. We do have a new level A culvert assessment form that I don't believe we've sent out yet. We're just kind of waiting on the final touches, but we will, and it'll be very clear that you need to do the conversion, and we have the conversion factor listed there so you know what to multiply or divide by, etc. Culvert slope, we'll just go 0.3, road fill depth. Now, they say to the nearest 1 meter. I don't think Fish and Wildlife's going to get on our case if, we're not doing the right decimal places. So I've always been a specifics guy, but if you don't want to put 2.15, just put 2. I don't necessarily know if it'll screw up Fish and Wildlife's database, but I highly doubt it will. If anything, they'll appreciate the more specificity, but we just don't want you to have to get down on ground level out on a busy road trying to wait till you see your partner, get the thing level. But we have a cool new way of doing that. So next time you go out in the field, one of us can teach you how to do that without
Yeah, and that road fill depth, that what Luke told me, he said that's just, they have a general idea of how much digging they're going to have to do if they have to replace a culvert. And so, I mean, whether you say 2 meters or 2.5 meters, that's not going to make any difference, right? I mean, they're going to, it probably if within 3 or 4 meters, it's fine. They just want a general estimate of, oh, it's got 10 meters of road fill depth. This is going to be a pretty major project rather than it's 2 meters, right? So that's what that's used for.
Perfect. All right, here we have to mark if it's countersunk, yes or no, backwatered, yes or no, gate, rack, fishway, yes or no.
And on that, it doesn't matter whether it's an upstream or downstream gate or rack?
Nope, if there is a gate or rack, we want you to mark it.
Anywhere, okay.
Yep. Same thing with the fishway. It could be in it, right at the entrance, at the top, it could be just about anywhere. Bank full width, for the one Brad and I did, it was 0. There was no bank full width because there was no channel. Tidal influence, pretty much all the ones you guys are going to do is probably no. And if you guys have questions on that, we can let us know and we can talk about what the correct answer would be for you, because we'd probably have to ask Luke to see, because I'm sure he's done a little bit more tidal influence ones than us. Pool length, that's if there is a water surface drop. So in ours, we didn't have a water surface drop, so it's going to be 0. And then here's where the barrier status is. So this is that flow chart that you guys do out in the field after you've collected all the data. We're going to put no, and that estimated percent passability was 100%. And then if it was a significant reach for us, it was no, because there's no downstream or upstream channel minus a ditch. And then here we have the comment section. Just concise comments pertinent to culvert. And if you measure multiple water surface drops, this is where you would put those water surface drops. For the actual water surface drop up here, we're looking for the greatest water surface drop. And then any other water surface drops will be mentioned down in the comment section. We'll say, I'm just going to say fish won't use this. So next thing I'm going to do is go to carry on. This is the level B barrier determination. We don't need to deal anything with that because we're not doing level Bs right now. If you do, then we would talk about it, and we'll teach you guys how to do that once we get to level Bs, really. But let's see, the first two bottom tabs, the one called Culvert data. So they have an Excel sheet that you fill out basically, and then you drag and drop it into here. But the other caveat to this tab 5, this is where you put your photos. And some of you guys might have seen the email chain that we had going about how to name photos. Did someone say something? No, that was me.
Well, I was going to say this is my first Zoom session with you, Nick, but I was unaware we're not doing level Bs.
Well, no, so we've only, I think we did one training where we trained people how to do level Bs. If you feel confident doing a level B, you can, but most of our members have not been trained in level Bs because we decided that we're going to separate the trainings because it's too much information for everyone to learn how to do a level A and a level B. And you do level Bs so much less than level As, you won't have the practice you need to be able to do them good enough for us to be able to submit that data to WDFW. But if you had the level B training and you feel confident doing it, go for it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so when you are submitting your photos, you would select files or you could drop them in there. As a reminder, and I sent this out in an email a bit ago, and I'm also throwing it into our kind of our step-by-step guides that we're developing. We only want one photo of the inlet and one photo of the outlet. There's a specific format for how those files are going to be named, and it would be site ID _1 for the outlet. So you'd put site ID, which would be like 816.091_1. That 1 denotes that it's the outlet. And then you would do site ID _2 for the inlet. And so basically what Fish and Wildlife looks at is they look at it from the fish's perspective. As the fish is swimming up the stream, they hit the culvert. What's the first thing they see? The outlet. So the first picture would be site ID _1 for the outlet. And then as they come out of it, site ID _2 for the inlet. I have this all written down. I can send it out in another email and in all of our BAT documents once those get finalized. And then the third photo is habitat photos. So anything that you think might be necessary. So I like to take an upstream and downstream photo of what's below the culvert and anything else that's significant. So if I have a completely washed out culvert that's like it's hanging 20 feet out over the stream bed because half the road's gone, I take a photo of that. So it would be site ID _3, and then you can just go to infinity with as many pictures as you want. Try to limit your photos to like 5 or 6 max. Get good photos with good perspectives. Try when you're doing your inlet outlet photos, try and go back like 15 feet if you can, and then stick your stadia rod right next to the entrance. That way we have a scale. We just don't want to overdo the amount of photos we send, but we do want to give them a good idea of what the culvert looks like and the surrounding areas, so that way they can determine if it does need to be replaced or anything like that, if it meets their priority list. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I've seen a few situations where you're trying to get a picture of either the inlet or the outlet, and there's so much brush around that the the culvert is, you can barely see it.
Yeah, definitely. So
How do you handle that?
we have the machetes. If you got to clear out the culvert a little bit with the machetes, go for it. If
Okay.
anything, it will help it from getting clogged. I always say do your surveys, and then if there's like debris blocking the inlet, unclog it. That way we don't have culverts overflowing and roads washing out. Although now that I think about it, it might mean they replace it sooner and maybe it'll be a better culvert. I don't know, but just a thought. But use the machete to clear it out, to try and get the best picture you can. Really just do the best you can. If it's completely blocked and you can stick your stadia rod next to it and back up a couple feet, just do that. That way the next surveyor will go and be like, hey, this last photo was super overgrown, but I kind of have an idea of where it is.
Right.
Some of these pictures, at least for me, I use them to kind of figure out where to go and also whether or not it's a culvert I want to survey. Because there's some days where I'm like, I want to do some easy culverts. I don't want to have to go down a 40-foot ravine and then into like a trench that's 10 feet deep, like the one we do our training on. So you can use the photos as a good way to figure out if that culvert's within your ability or skill level also. So the photos are useful. So just do the best you can in regards to all the extra brush and stuff like that. There will be ones where your picture is just going to be like a bush.
Yeah.
And that's the best you can do.
Okay.
All right. So once you drag all that down in there, you're going to hit that I'm not a robot button and then submit. You'll submit it and I will get an email along with Brad and Steve. And I believe if you submit it, you also get an email saying that you did a submission. Brad, you submitted the most recent one. Did you get a confirmation email?
I did.
Perfect.
Yeah, but I think we are not getting those emails for other submissions, Nick. I think we may have to do a test one and see what's happening with those.
Yeah, I'm thinking that as well.
Because I submitted 3 and I only remember getting 1 email. So we're gonna have to look into that.
I'll probably be submitting one in the next day or so, and I'll shoot you guys an email, and you tell me if you got the
That'd be
second.
great. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, and then I'm just gonna submit this one that I'm doing right now with a random picture of myself. The nice thing is WDFW doesn't get these right away, so I'll filter it out. Okay, so I uploaded a photo here. I didn't do the correct naming for it because it's literally a picture of myself. And then you hit I'm not a robot, submit. It says thank you for doing a great job, and keep an eye out on the Fish and Wildlife map for it to be updated. I'm going to caveat it right now by saying eventually, once we get enough people going, we would love to see your surveys posted on the WDFW website within like 2, maybe 3 weeks. Right now, it might be a month, maybe 2 months, because we don't really want to send one survey at a time to WDFW. We want to send batches to them. That way, not just wasting their time. But just keep an eye out, and eventually your surveys will get posted up there, and it's going to be really cool because your name will be on a state government page saying that you contributed to some really cool science that could help our fish populations. So there's that.
The other thing that I found that makes submissions easier is if you're the scribe and you're the one submitting, if you take the pictures, that way you don't have to worry about getting pictures from somebody else, having them send them to you.
Exactly.
It just makes it a lot easier if you take them yourself.
Yeah, that's a great point there. Okay, so we're going to try this one more time. This is the last thing I have for y'all tonight. And if this doesn't work, we'll have to revisit it, and maybe I'll just record a video of me doing it. So what I'm trying to do is we just went over how to submit the site IDs and the level A and level B culvert analysis on our website. The last thing you have to do is mark that site as surveyed on the Trout Unlimited Fish Barrier Assessment Map. And that is the one that can be found by, oh, come on. The middle part of my screen won't let me press buttons if I try and hit stuff on the middle. So I have to change the size. Okay. So that's the map that's right here, the barrier map. We hit that, and yeah, Brad and Steve, I think we might be having some issues with it. It's not loading our surveys, and it's popping up with this warning. So we'll have to take a look into this. But
Okay.
Basically, I'll try and walk you through it. And I've sent out documentation on how to do this in the past, but I'll do my best to kind of walk you through it. So what's going to happen is when you're on our BAT map here, you'll have your sites here. After you've done a specific site, you want to go to the search bar and you want to find your site. So let me see if this might work. We'll see. 810669. So this is a site that Brad and I surveyed. Yeah, it didn't work. If when I hit search, it would take me right to that site, and I would click on it, and it would, if you scroll down to the bottom, it would say resurveyed by Nick and Brad Throssell. And it's really cool because it shows that we actually resurveyed it already. There's very little information you need to put. It's the date that you resurveyed it, your names, whether or not there was a change in barrier status, and I think one other thing. It's only like 5 things that you need to put in there. To get to that, you would click on the survey, and I'll see if I can kind of come up with a janky way of doing this to kind of give you an idea. Let's see.
Glad you're pointing this out. I did not do this part. I missed this part.
Oh, yeah, I will show you. Well, I'm going to try my best to show you. I mean, I can't actually do it for you because for whatever.
Right. Yeah, no, I know. When I submitted those 3, I didn't do this piece.
Okay, so I'm just going on to the WDFW map so I can kind of give you a better idea of how to find this stuff. We won't be able to do it on here because their map has different applications than us. Once it loads. So specifically, you're going to find your culvert and you're going to go into it. And there is going to be those arrows on the top that show you to like go to different pages. You're going to go over the pages until you see a blue hyperlink that says update assessment status. You're going to click on that and it's going to ask you to log in. I think it'll open up another screen or reload your screen. And once you get there, you're going to log in, and our login is, I've sent it out in an email, but it's capital T, capital U, capital G, U-E-S-T. So TU guest with a capital T-U-G at the beginning. The password is guest word, but the O in word is 0. And again, I've sent this out in an email, and it's in our files that I've sent out before. So I'll resend those out so that way everyone has them. I don't know what's going on with their databases tonight, but they're messed up.
I'm sorry, you said that you do that through the WDFW site or the TU site?
The TU site.
Okay.
So it's through the TU barrier map, not the WDFW map. I was just going on here to try and get you closer to being able to walk through it, but it is not liking me for some reason, and I don't know what's going on. Let me see if we can go with that. Yeah, something's broke, but we'll get it fixed for y'all. Very weird. But yeah, basically what you would do is you do the login and then you would enter your information there. There will be 3 dots that you click to edit it. You click 3 dots and it'll say resurvey, and then you just type in those 5 things that I talked about: your names, date resurveyed, barrier status, and 1 or 2 other things that I can't remember. And that's about it. And we use this as a way, because there is a lag time between data being submitted and it being posted on WDFW's website. which would then subsequently update it here with the most recent survey date. That way our volunteers can be like, oh, this was resurveyed last week, so I'm not going to do this one now. While we're waiting for WFW to quality control our data and actually upload it into the database. Does that make sense to everyone? Without me showing you. And what I'll do is once we get this database fixed, I'll do like a screen recording of me doing it, so that way you guys can have it, and we'll get some training videos going of that. So we got 14 minutes left. I'm going to open it up to questions, and then I think Andrew had a question or asked me to bring something up if we had time. So does anyone have questions about the stuff I covered?
I'm good, thanks.
I thought I did, but I probably, maybe you've answered everything. I noticed we never really do anything about measuring sort of sediment depth in the culverts. Seemed sort of something that seemed worthwhile, but
yeah, so sediment depth isn't one of the things that Fish and Wildlife is interested in regards to the data we collect. It is indirectly noted with the whether or not it's countersunk. And if you say it's countersunk, then they know that there's sediment in there. But to the people, the master people that made the BAT forms and the BAT program for Fish and Wildlife and all that, that biologist just decided that they didn't need to get sediment depth. Sometimes you're not even going to be able to do that because there might be a bottomless culvert and you just don't know that. So not something we necessarily need to worry about. We just need to know if it's countersunk and whether or not, the sediment is greater than 20% at that outlet.
the bank full width, is that always done on the downstream side?
No, ideally you want to do it on both sides and then average it all together. You're only submitting one bank full width number, but the best thing to do is go upstream and downstream outside of the culvert's influence. So you definitely want to be past that control point on the downstream side. I usually try and go 15 to 20 meters downstream and 15 to 20 meters upstream before I start taking bank full widths. Because at high flood events, you're probably, no matter what, going to have some type of culvert influence, whether that be backing up at the inlet or a huge scour pool or something like that at the outlet. So take them upstream and downstream if possible. Sometimes it just might not be possible to do it on one or the other based off of the geology or geography of the stream you're on. Or it just might be like something that completely skews the data. So for example, the downstream side of the culvert that we train on, where it's that super deep kind of like trench, that's only like 4 feet wide and like 10 feet deep, that's going to skew the data, and that's not necessarily representative of all of the bank full width. So we just did it the upstream side.
And you could probably note that in the notes that you.
Yep.
You know.
Exactly. Yeah. If you have the massive trench on one side, throw that down into those comments, because that's something they're going to want to know. It's coming out like a pressure washer on that outlet of that culvert. So. Anyone else?
Yeah, real quick, on the Fish and Wildlife maps, I've actually been using those, but when you click on a site, it has like a pop-up. It gives you some of the highlights, I guess, of any previous survey, and they specify a survey date there. And then if you go down and open up to get to the actual report, you get what they call a review date. And I've seen instances where those, they don't agree, and I'm not sure which one to use. I saw one that had a 1997 survey date in that first pop-up screen, And then there was information in the actual report from January of 2020. So,
So that possibly might have been a resurvey. They'll be stacked in there. So if you're looking at my screen now, you'll see that one of 4 pages. It could be two possible things. Either one, it was resurveyed, or they did a barrier correction on it, like you can see here, barrier correction 2005.
okay.
Or the other option is it was a really, really old survey. So for example, the ones that I do down on Highway 410 on the White River, or that I've been looking at, the last time they were surveyed was in 97.
Okay.
And they weren't added to the database until later. So that's probably what that review date was, is that WDFW reviewed it for data completeness or whether or not it would be good to have in the database. And then that was the day that they decided to put it in. Chances are, though, it's most likely a resurvey or a barrier correction, which, like you can see here.
Okay, so we look at the most recent date as whether we want to bother with that or not, that specific site.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
You want to look at the most recent. And so just go through all the pages and look at the different survey dates and see the most recent one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything before I answer Andrew's question that he emailed me about? Okay.
And I'll say this in connection with the question. My suspicion is we've been going for a while that maybe a bigger topic for a later time. I was really just kind of more interested in understanding the overall context of the program and how it all fits together, how sites are going to be prioritized, and and when the actual work's going to be done. I mean, I got to admit, I didn't realize it until I went and looked at some of the